3 count commentaries. NXT. Let's talk about it. September the 5th, 2022. I'm sorry, 2023. This is not last year. Anyway, the only news and notes is that some idiot named Dutch, who used to be in NXT, is now a member of the Righteous. He's in ROH. He thinks there have been no big stars made in NXT. He must have never heard of Bianca Belair. Second note is that apparently AOP, the Authors of Pain, is supposed to be making a return. I ain't seen them. You ain't seen them. Nobody's seen them, but the dirt sheets swear that they're under contract and they're just lingering around, just like Carlito. They're signing guys to contracts and then just sending them, let them sit at home. Which, you know, I can actually believe that because we know that at least happened to some people. But it doesn't make sense to do that. Kind of dumb, especially when it's Authors of Pain, 2 big guys. You could use them, especially in NXT. If you're going to do something with them, do something with them. You know what? Might be nice if you put them with Baron Corbin rather than Bron Breakker or whatever. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Let's get into the rest of the show. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible so I won't have to hold you guys too long. Tiffany Stratton had a hell of a night. First, she defeated Kiana James to retain her NXT Women's Championship. Really good match. Both girls worked heel, which is very bizarre. But they showed the similarities between the two. Both of them showing off their agility by doing cartwheels and kip-ups. Both were hair-pulling. Tiffany Stratton put her feet on the ropes. Kiana James was pulling the tights. Both got caught cheating. Some really solid counters into this match. The match ended with Tiffany Stratton finally getting an eye rake on Kiana James and then getting there with the steamroller and the prettiest moonsault ever to get the pinfall. Solid heel versus heel match. I don't necessarily know why it had to be heel versus heel, but it did. After the match, Becky Lynch popped up on the screen. She didn't show up in the building, which would have, who knows what would have happened at that point. But she says she did everything there is to do in this company, except win the NXT Women's Championship, and she got herself a match against Tiffany Stratton next week. So Becky Lynch will be making an appearance next week in the main event of NXT. Should be fun. Should be interesting. Tiffany Stratton was asked by a microphone holder if she had a comment. She had no comment, but she did come back later to cut a promo. She said that Becky Lynch is the biggest match of her career, but she's only been in the business for 2 years. And that 2 years into the business, Becky Lynch was still a flight attendant. She said that while Becky Lynch might be a main eventer for WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Raw, SmackDown, and various other B pay-per-views, and she might be big-time Bex, she is indeed the center of the universe in her world, and she will see her next week. And then she punctuated it by calling Becky Lynch a bitch, which is how they end conversations in certain places. Interesting storyline here. They didn't really have them interact at all. They just had Tiffany Stratton watching Becky Lynch the last couple of weeks, and now they're going to have a match. Something tells me that I don't think they're going to be dumb enough to put the belt on Becky Lynch. Why would they do that? I mean, they could, theoretically, but what would be the benefit of it, At the same time, though, do you really have Tiffany Stratton beat Becky Lynch? Now, this begs that perhaps Becky Lynch wins the title, and if she goes on a Dolph Ziggler-like run in NXT, where she wrestles a lot of the younger chicks, like, the Lyra Valkyrias and, the Roxanne Perez's and those kinds of characters. But, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't hate it. I just don't know if it's a good idea. But I'm intrigued by the match. I wish they would have put some more storyline into it, but I'm intrigued by the contest at the very least. Carmelo Hayes and Wes Lee both showed up at the arena at the same time. There was some tension there. Later, after Ilya Dragunov defeated Oro Mensah, it was a fun match between these two. Oro Mensah was hanging in there with Dragunov until he got powerbombed. And that was an ill powerbomb at that point. Afterwards, Wes Lee confronted Ilya Dragunov and said that he wants a match with Carmelo Hayes, so Dragunov is just going to have to wait. Dragunov was like, nope, not waiting. Not doing that. Nothing's going to stand between him and his destiny. He wants to fight Carmelo Hayes. So Carmelo Hayes ended up coming out there and said that Shawn Michaels gave him some really good advice and cleared up some misconceptions that he had about his own championship wins. There is no asterisk in his victory over Dragunov. Dragunov made a mistake. He took advantage. Wesley, same thing. He made a mistake, and Melo took advantage. But he says, if you guys want to fight amongst yourselves to see who will face me, that's fine. Shawn Michaels have already agreed to it. So Wesley versus Ilya Dragunov next week to see who the number one contender for the NXT Championship will be at No Mercy. I like that idea. It's a solid one, babyface versus babyface, but you can always have Wesley turn. Wesley needs to turn. That kind of needs to go ahead and happen. Later in the show, Ilya Dragunov put the pressure on Trick Williams. Wouldn't ask Trick Williams why is he lying to his friend that he saw last week that Trick Williams said that Carmelo Hayes could beat Ilya Dragunov, and Dragunov says that Trick Williams knows that that's not the case. So he's got 1 week to change his mind and tell Carmelo Hayes the truth, or he could keep lying to his friend, or even worse, keep lying to himself. This is a very interesting storyline too, as Dragunov is trying to pressure Trick Williams and break his belief, his faith in Carmelo Hayes. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, but I actually enjoy this. They had a tag team situation where Diamond Mine was hosting some kind of tag team party and ended up with all the tag teams in one room, picking on each other, messing with each other, asking the Creed brothers whether they fight or, all this kind of stuff. It ended up in a big brawl once Humberto and Angel showed up, and they threatened to claw the eyes out of anybody who tried to stop them from being the tag team champions. So it ended up being Tony D'Angelo and Stax. So it ended up in a big fight. Not much there in terms of what it meant. It was just the Diamond Mine trying to make a big comeback, and for some reason they wanted to have a tag team summit, which sounds dumb, was dumb, if we're being honest. All right. Dominic Mysterio was backstage ripping pages out of the WWF rule book because he's not going to be a fair referee. He has a purple and black referee shirt that he thanked Mommy for. And he was the referee of record for Dragon Lee versus Mustafa Ali. This match was very good. It was very solid. At one point, it seemed like Dragon Lee had Mustafa Ali beat with a sky-high powerbomb, but Mustafa Ali kicked out. Dragon Lee blamed Dominic, saying that he was counting too slow. This led to a roll-up after he was slightly distracted by Dominic. It was a slightly faster count than normal that gave Mustafa Ali the win, but it wasn't like the fastest count of all time or anything like that. It was actually a pretty fair count if we looking at it in an unbiased way. Afterwards, essentially Dominic Mysterio had picked Mustafa Ali as his opponent, and Mustafa Ali ended up punching him in the head for cheating on his behalf. It was something. Mustafa Ali versus Dominic Mysterio and No Mercy. Okay, that sounds like fun. I still think it's going to end up being a triple threat match, however, but this referee business ending with somebody actually winning and somebody actually losing is a positive. We got some Heritage Cup stuff next. Nathan Fraser said that he went viral for all the wrong reasons because his head almost came off last week when his head got caught in the ropes. But he says that he's thinking about the Heritage Cup and he didn't get to NXT by holding back or slowing down, so he will never slow down. And he ended up having a match with Duke Hudson, which he actually won with the Phoenix Splash. Next, Axiom and Butch was the other Heritage Cup tournament match. This match went to a 12-minute draw that saw Axiom actually kick out of Butch's finish, the bitter end. Very interesting match. It's hard to get into these matches where these guys are not talking. Like, they're not cutting promos or showing personality. They're just showing up and having matches. Like, Butch just shows up and has a match. He hasn't talked. He hasn't done anything. It's hard to get into this tournament when that's all it is. And I probably shouldn't care so much about that, but I do care quite a bit about personalities. So apparently they're also doing matches on Level Up, which is going to make things even harder to keep track of. But Level Up seems to be the Akira Tozawa show. So if they're wrestling on Level Up, it's probably Akira Tozawa. Why is he in this if he can't be on the show? Why you show me something if I can't have it? Even though I don't really care about Akira Tozawa. Sorry. Moving on. JC Jane is still corrupting Thea Hale. She's got her wearing Daisy Dukes and wearing black makeup and all this. Gigi Dolan tried to smarten up the young lady that JC Jane was up to no good. Thea Hale wasn't trying to hear it then. Blair Davenport popped up out of nowhere, basically told Gigi Dolan to mind her own business. To which Gigi said, "Oh, you trying to make challenges? I thought you only did that by attacking people from behind in the parking lot." So then Blair Davenport just leaves. JC Jane whispers to Thea Hale, and Thea Hale starts barking at Gigi Dolan that she is a grown woman and that she will prove it in the ring tonight. So then that match happens later in the show. Gigi Dolan versus Thea Hale. Match is okay. Gigi Dolan watches as JC Jane has her influence on Thea Hale, which includes not wanting Thea Hale to do her Chase University entrance. She kind of coaxed her into throwing her megaphone away, and she's about to do her Chase University hand sign, and JC Jane was like, no, that's not cool. Don't do that. So she didn't do that either. But she still had Chase University's theme song, and she still had the inverted colors for Chase University, which means heavily black with tinges of red and white. So technically Thea Hale is working heel here, but she's not really a heel. She's more like Spider-Man in the black costume. Anyway, Gigi Dolan got caught in the Kimura, but she ended up getting to the ropes. Outside the ring, Gigi Dolan pushes Thea Hale into the ring post, which was a distraction. When the referee turned his back, Blair Davenport did an arm breaker onto Gigi Dolan onto the mat. She threw her back in the ring. Kimura, Gigi Dolan taps out. Then JC Jane, I believe, actually blew a kiss to Blair Davenport for helping. And Thea Hale actually won the match. So either they're about to put together a stable featuring Thea Hale, Blair Davenport, and JC Jane, or Gigi Dolan is just involved in two different feuds at the same time. It might be three, because I don't know if her feud with Kiana James actually technically ever ended. Gigi Dolan losing to Thea Hale, well, she has some help, so it's not that big a deal, but very odd decision making here. Very, very odd decision making. But I like the JC Jane, Thea Hale corruption angle. She being a little devil on her shoulder, trying to get her to grow up, blossom out of this Chase University childishness. And Thea Hale is an impressionable youth. She's trying her best to be cool. And she sees JC Jane as being cool, at least right now. So this ought to be fine. Next, Kato, who is like 7'8", 426 pounds or some nonsense, lost to Tyler Bate clean. Oh my God, you cockeyed coward. Shawn Michaels will do anything other than turn Tyler Bate heel. He will do anything. He'll have Kato, who is 9 feet tall, lose to 4'11" Tyler Bate. He will do anything except turn Tyler Bate heel. This match was stupid. Kato got picked up and twirled around in an airplane spin. What an abortion this was. Jesus Christ. But the match ended with Tyler Bate winning. Ugh. God awful. Later, Kiana James. She's throwing a tantrum backstage. Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez were chatterboxing, gossiping. That's what women do. When Kiana James came in and started throwing a tantrum. Roxanne Perez told her to chill out. She should be happy. She even got to wrestle for the women's title. Then Kiana James said, look, I took that shot from you, and I'll do it again and again and again. And Lyra Valkyria was trying her best to tell Roxanne Perez to relax. Don't let this young lady get under your skin, but she did it anyway, and they ended up a fight in the locker room. I don't know if I like this. Everybody's chilling around the TV chatterbox and stuff that NXT has started to do. I don't think I like that. I mean, it is what it is. I guess it's an easy way to tell the story, but I don't know about that. All right, Baron Corbin, he's backstage. He's talking about Von Wagner and Bron Breakker having something to prove to him, even though we don't know why they have anything to prove to him. But he says he might pick up the bones of these guys, depending on what they're going to do. But he wants to see each one of them, back up the talk that they've been talking. So Von Wagner, he's talking about Every day with you makes the birds chirp, makes the fans cheer. It gets me right here in the heart. And then he was talking to a table. Since the table has come into his life, everything has changed, which is technically true. But why is this grown man lisping, talking to a table? Everything in my life has changed since you came into my life. Von Wagner versus Bron Breakker was the main event. These two guys threw everything at each other. Hard-hitting match. Flying Bulldog from the top rope by Bron Breakker onto a chair. Von Wagner powers out a sliding recliner. Very interesting. At one point, Bron Breakker was prevented from getting a chair, so he spit in Von Wagner's face, which I do not condone spitting. I don't condone that. But it ended up with Bron Breakker going through a table. He got powerbombed through the table. He got tabled, which was dope. Afterwards, Von Wagner ended up getting hit in the balls before Bron Breakker hit his finish. Following the match, Bron Breakker wins. Following the match, he continues his demolition of Von Wagner by continuously hitting him with a chair. And then the sky went dark. Well, the room went dark. So that you can't see something super violent happening, which was that Von Wagner got smashed in the head with the steel stairs. It was crazy. They cut it dark, and the only thing you could hear was, "Oh my God, he did it! He did it! Oh my God!" It's like, oh wow, kind of wild there. I like it. You know, I hate that they cut it so early. Like, they cut it as soon as he raised the stairs in the air. They should have cut it just as he was coming down with the stairs. Would have been a little bit more effective. But you can hear Vic Joseph and Booker T responding to what was going on. And then you see on like Twitter that Von Wagner is being carted out on a stretcher, bandage over his head. They really went there when it comes to that. Not bad. Not bad at all, actually. All right. So Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey made fun of Miles Bourne, who apparently has a speech impediment, because I couldn't understand nothing he was saying. Anyway, they told him he wasn't ready to be on NXT, because if he was ready, they would have told him. But he's buddies with Fallon Henley and Briggs and Jensen, and he better not embarrass them next week when he makes his debut, even though he's been on this show before, or whatever. But they're being bullies, big old bullies. And then I forgot Damon Kemp was there too, but you know, I always forget that he's there. Eddie Thorpe was backstage trying to convince me that he was upset about losing to Dijak. He failed, but he said he's not done. I don't think I care, and let's just move on. So, final segment, Kalani Jordan and Lyra Valkyria. Kalani Jordan is venting to Lyra Valkyria about losing the tag team match last week. She is getting a pep talk from Lyra, who's talking about how young she is and how her career is basically just getting started. And then Dana Brooke cut in and said, wait. We don't need Lyra Valkyria. We don't need your opinion. We don't need your advice. We're doing just fine. I'm her partner. She is my protege. Everything is going to be fine. So she's being very jealous. Lyra Valkyria says she doesn't have a problem with Dana Brooke, but if Dana Brooke has a problem with her, they can fight next week, to which they both agreed to. Okay. I mean, clearly Dana Brooke is turning heel here, so it is what it is. But that's NXT. Solid enough show. I actually enjoyed it. I gotta tell you, the Heritage Cup stuff is hard to get through because, again, these guys are not showing any personality. Most of them are not talking. It's just matches, you know. It's just match after match after match, and it's a round robin tournament, so everybody's gonna wrestle everybody. It's a pain in the ass. I will say this though, and I should have mentioned this before, but during the Thea Hale Gigi Dolan match, Booker T was trying to explain the JC Jane Thea Hale relationship by saying she's like a coach, she's like a big sister. And then he starts yelling about Coach Prime. Coach Prime. And I'm just like, what is going on with Booker T over here? First you said she's like a big sister to Thea Hale. She's being big sisterly. Now he's crowing about Coach Prime. I love Booker T. I also love Booker T because Vic Joseph was trying to draw his attention to what Noam Dar was wearing. I have no idea what Noam Dar was wearing. I think he was dressed like Santa Claus or something like that. But he was up in the balcony. And and Vic Joseph was trying to draw Booker T's attention to it by saying he was dressed like Elsa from Frozen. And so Booker T was like, I'm working right now, Victor. His name is Vic Joseph. He said, working right now, Victor. Just completely and totally ignoring this guy. This was great shit. I love Booker T and Vic Joseph. They rule. NXT is a fun show, even though the acting is somewhat wonky. I really thought the women's title match kicked off. It was really good, even though it was heel versus heel. Axiom versus Butch was a good match, too, even though it was hard for me to get into it because it's work rate shit, and there was no story behind it. It was hard for me to get into, but it was fine. Mustafa Ali and Dragon Lee was quite good, very good. Dominic Mysterio was actually not that terrible of a referee. He probably should have worked on his El Tarantes heel referee gimmick. I mean, I'm pretty sure he had to watch some AAA at some point, right? His dad worked there at one point. He should have learned how to be a heel referee from being there. But I guess the point was he would be fair and then suddenly cheat, which I guess was the point. But Dragon Lee, Mustafa Ali was actually quite good too. So it was a very solid episode of NXT. I think it lagged a little bit in the later part of the episode. And I wasn't a huge fan of the main event. But it was fine. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.